Hey noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and today's topic is a little bit unfortunate in the sense that it's a sad topic to discuss, but it is something that I've been thinking, should I make a video about this, should I not make a video about this? And of course one of the incentives of talking about what has happened to a fellow YouTuber by the name of Nick from Rekieta, I don't know, Rekieta Law, I'll just say, is clearly one of the incentives is the fact that it's a hot topic and people are talking about it. It's going to bring in the views. I'm not going to pretend that that's not one of the incentives here. But I think the main reasons why I think it's important to talk about it, first of all, in a fair manner, level-headed, and only based on evidence. But one of the reasons why it's important to talk about it, and at the end of the day I decided, yeah, I want to talk about this, is because it is a great opportunity to present a very important matter, particularly to those of you who watch this channel, and in general YouTubers, and you are relatively young. In other words, if you stop watching now, don't do drugs, don't drink and drive. But I'll get back to that in a minute. So the other reason why I decided to talk about this is because I've had an interaction with Rekieta Law and it was not a great interaction. You don't know about this because at the time I decided that I didn't want to bring it to your attention, but I did have an interaction with the guy. Hence the title of this video. It was brought to my attention that not so long ago, during one of his streams, Rekieta Law decided to dedicate a whole section of his video to, let's say, me, in the sense that, to be more specific, he was reading and reacting and also providing commentary to a post that I had made. Of course, I have no problems whatsoever to people reacting or presenting their opinions on what it is that I speak, and I make a lot of public statements and I post a lot of content. With that being said, when I watched that video, I was actually in the car with my wife. She was driving, I was watching the video, and even though it started nicely in the sense that the guy was like, oh, you know, there is this guy Metatron, I don't know much about it, but he's supposed to be cool, he's a cool guy, so I appreciated the beginning, but then unfortunately even my wife was like, oh, look at that, he's speaking nicely about you, and then the whole stream really went down into pretty much a situation whereby for the following 40 minutes the guy just laughed at me, made fun of me, honestly laughing like an idiot, I'll just say it, just being extremely unfair, putting me completely out of context, and that's why like we kind of stopped watching, because even my wife was like, you know, this, I don't like this, and I said, yeah, you know, I expected better. To that I'd like to say that I left a few comments under his stream, and then he replied, because there were people that were saying things that were absolutely incorrect about me, and then he replied and was very polite in the comments. So even though I did not like the way he quote-unquote roasted me, although then again, neither did his audience, because apart from a couple of haters who hate me anyways, there were quite a few people that were saying, no, I don't think you're being fair, I think you're taking me out of context. He said this, like for example, at one point on that post, I was saying basically that I'm not a racist, that I'm not homophobic, and he was like, why are you saying that, ha ha ha, and then people were like, no Nick, he's saying it because people have accused him of being these things, because normally Metatron defends historical facts, whether this goes against activists of one side of the political spectrum and sometimes from the other. Of course, he didn't have the context, so to him it sounded strange. He literally said I was gay, and not gay in the sense of being homosexual, but it was like, oh, this is so gay type of way of speaking. So anyways, I did not like the way he spoke about me. He made a video about me. I know it was a stream, but it was a long section of that stream. I don't think there is anything wrong with me making a video about him. With that being said, I don't want you to think that this is my way to take revenge. It is not. In fact, if anything, I'd like to present a nuanced and fair take about this whole situation of this fellow content creator to whom I had an interaction with. The whole situation is the fact that it seems like allegedly Rekieta Law is not only an alcoholic, but it seems like he's struggling with substance abuse. The substance in question allegedly would be cocaine. The reason why I keep saying allegedly is because let's keep in mind that the court of public opinion is never the right way to judge something. The information that has been presented to us hasn't still been fully reviewed by a court of law, and there isn't a complete verdict. The guy is indeed facing 25 years of jail time. I don't know if he would do any jail time. I'm not versed in the legal aspect of this, so I'll refer you to other channels that have covered the legal aspect of all of this. However, during his streams, it was clear that the guy was struggling with alcohol addiction, and once again, allegedly, law enforcement has entered his house with a warrant, and they have found a certain amount of illegal substances. All of this connects to the actual core message of this discussion. If all of this is true, then it kind of presents an important opportunity to talk about influence. Because even though I absolutely loathe the word influencer, particularly when it's connected to me, also because it's often connected to people that, you know, these young kids on TikTok that do stupid pranks and they're called influencers, you know, that's all, the whole section of social media pisses me off very much. But it is important to underline that whether you want to use the word influence or not, as content creators, we do have influence, particularly on the younger generation, in the sense that if you're a 40-year-old man or woman, most likely even if you see me do or say something silly, that won't really affect the way you live your life. But when it comes to people who are young, then absolutely they will look at you oftentimes with respect, because they think, hey, Metatron or Rekieta Law or freaking Jacksepticeye, PewDiePie, whoever it is, oh, I want to become like them because Penguin Critical is successful, he makes a lot of money, people subscribe to him, so I want to do what he does. And oftentimes, as content creators with a certain level of success, we do have to keep in mind that what we say is not just a matter of what I think, but it's also a matter of what potentially the younger section of and portions of our audience will begin thinking too. Because they will try to emulate you, because they like who you are, what you represent, and most importantly, they want to be like you. Of course, a channel with millions of subscribers will have a lot more influence onto people than a channel with 10,000 subscribers, and of course all the different levels in between. But I think once you reach a certain point and you start having people watching your content and you get good numbers regardless of your actual subscribe count, it's important to take into consideration the responsibility of your actions onto the people that are watching. Also because unfortunately when you're very young and impressionable, you will make connections that, you know, if you use logic and reason, you wouldn't make. For example, well, this person keeps drinking alcohol during live streams and gets completely wasted, or like other people have done, they drive drunk during freaking live streams. There are situations like this that we see, and these are obviously not examples that you should emulate, but it's very probable that a person who is young will make the connection. Well, this person is successful, people are watching him, he's making a lot of money, he's very popular, I should start doing what he does so that I can also become successful, yada yada yada. So if you are a content creator and you have a few 100,000 people watching, before you turn on the camera, think about what message you're giving, particularly to the young. Now, when it comes to addiction, I've never experienced addiction in my life, which is why I don't think I can really judge him. This is not a video where I'm trying to kick a man while he's down. Absolutely not. I think people that struggle with addiction just need help. That's what they need. Professional help, in fact. But as I say, I almost never drink, very occasionally drink alcohol, but absolutely have no addiction whatsoever to it. I have never experienced drug abuse because I never used drugs. I've never even smoked a cigarette in my life, so I don't understand even tobacco addiction. Maybe the only addiction I have are video games, but then again, video games, yes, they give you a release of endorphins, I suppose, but they do not introduce any substance in your body, and of course, that makes it a very different type of addiction, if you will. So if this whole discussion stopped at the addiction part, I wouldn't judge him for his addiction, but I would only say do not follow in his footsteps, because still the fact that he is streaming means that I think you should be a little more careful on what sort of message you're presenting to your audiences. With that being said, another thing that I think is important to say, whether you are a friend of his or not, whether you're a hater or an apologist for his case, I think it's important to underline that once you become a father, your perspective should change. So you've got kids to look after, well, they depend on you. If you're struggling with drugs, if you're struggling with alcohol, well, your kids are the priority now, not you. And so once you become a father, you need to get your shit together. And this is a message that I think we should start to sort of reinforce even more, particularly when we see situations like this. It's a very unfortunate situation and it is very sad. I do absolutely wish and pray that he will overcome it, and he has literally hit rock bottom, and now he can change his life, and this can be a wake-up call so that he can give up these substances that he alleged was using, once again, if this is indeed confirmed to be so, for the sake of his kids, first and foremost. And talking about kids, that is the part where I think the situation became really bad for what I could read. Until this is 100% confirmed by actual authorities, we should still give him the benefit of the doubt. Because once again, court of public opinion and stuff that you read on internet is not evidence from a legal perspective. But several accusations have been presented when it comes to child neglect, in the sense that it seems like his kids were the ones who spoke sort of against him at Sunday school to a teacher because they were saying that they were often hungry, they were wearing the same clothes for many days at a time, and also the idea that seems like that he may have been driving his kids around while under the influence of alcohol and who knows what. If this is true, then in that case my personal compassion towards the man reaches a limit. If it's not true, then it's a different situation. But if these things are true, then I'm sorry, but that is not something that you can defend, even if you really like the guy. And for further context and clarity, the reason why I say that my compassion ends right there, it's not because I'm trying to be harsh or punitive towards the guy, but simply because that compassion then transfers onto the kids, if you see the point I'm drawing. The only thing that you can defend right now if you're a friend of his is, guys, let's not jump to conclusions until evidence is actually presented and has been examined by a professional and authorized body. If you defend him like this, I will absolutely say, yes, you're right, that is correct. But if all of these alleged accusations appear to be true, then that's where we should draw the line. Because once again, if it's true, then that's something that cannot be defended nor respected. If you don't conduct yourself properly in your life as a single adult, it's your decision. Of course, if you're using illegal substances, you're still breaking the law. And if you're a lawyer, you know that better than anyone else, so that's something that is between you and the state. But as long as you're not breaking laws, if you don't want to look after yourself, I mean, drinking alcohol is legal, so you're not breaking the law. As a friend, I would tell you, hey man, I think you need to get your shit together. But as a friend, but as a complete stranger, I'd be like, hey, he's not breaking any law. But the moment kids are entered into the equation, particularly if there are, I was reading also about the situation of firearms being left around the house together with these substances. I'm not against castle doctrine, I'm not against personal protection, but if you own firearms, you need to own them responsibly, and therefore if you have kids, said firearms can never be in the reach of those kids. And I think you can agree with this, whatever your political positions are. You need to be responsible about how you own firearms. This is what the articles say, this is what YouTubers say, this is what law enforcement has stated as of now, but until those statements are presented in front of a court and an investigation is completed, we don't know if it's the case. Maybe it's not true that the firearm was not properly stored, therefore let's wait for the actual verdict. All of this to say, Nick, if you're watching this, our interaction online hasn't been the best. I did appreciate that you were polite to me in the responses, although I'm sure you will realize, and you must have realized, that I myself was very polite in the way I responded to you making fun of me. I would strongly suggest maybe get off the internet right now. It's because I see that it seems like you're still making public posts, which I think can be used against you. If you are lawyers, in the description, let me know. But I believe that if you are under this sort of accusation and you're a public figure, probably the best thing to do is to stop being online. But in general, as I say, Nick, not trying to attack you in any way, shape or form. This is my way to say, I don't hate you, man. Perhaps you were drunk when you made that video reaction to me, in which case I could be like, okay, now I get why he was behaving like a 12-year-old, because you were. This is my way to publicly say, I hope that you get out of this situation and that you change your life if those allegations were true. As always, noble ones, thank you for watching this video, and do keep in mind, if you're a content creator, that we do have influence and we need to take that into consideration whenever we turn on the camera because of the example we give. Thank you for watching.